Our relationship is affected by the projections of the past beliefs about ourselves that we're still imposing on ourselves today. The reaction that a person in your life brings up for you is, in a sense, a gift. It's helping you get in touch with something inside of you that otherwise drives you, not just in a relationship, but throughout your entire life. Hello, I'm Matthew Zoltan. What is it that happens when people come into relationships with one another? There's an attraction to each other, and the initial attraction goes very well for a while, and then after a little while they start to find things about one another that they don't like, and then the conflicts begin. And this is often when people think that the relationship is going wrong or something is not right about us two being together. We're not right for each other. I disagree. I find that people are pretty much right for one another when they first meet up. And why are we right for one another when we first meet up? Because we are at that point showing what it is to be us in the present moment of our life now. And then later on, what starts to show up further is what it used to be us in the past. And what of that past is still remaining and plaguing us from the inside out into our life each day, out into our relationships each day, and causing the difficulties in our relationships that we otherwise wouldn't have if we were just ourselves. Meaning just ourselves and not the product of our past, not the product of all the conditioning that have been imposed on us from how we've seen our parents interact, and our copying of those behaviours, the effects that those behaviours have had on us, how we've been taught we should be and shouldn't be. And in this, we start to learn to criticise ourselves for what we are. And as we learn to criticise ourselves for what we are actually indulging in a type of dislike of what we are. And that dislike of what we are causes us to be quite distressed in ourselves in being what we are. And that which we dislike about ourselves becomes a projection out of our disturbances onto the new person in our life or the people in our life. So our relationship is affected by the projections of the past beliefs about ourselves that we're still imposing on ourselves today, and the past disturbances and pains and hurts that have been caused by those beliefs or past experiences, which we're still imposing on our life today. And then we impose that unintentionally on our partner or our friend. How do we impose that on our friend or on our partner? Is that we start to react to their behaviours out of our own unresolved behaviours. So our partner also comes into the relationship as the person they are today, but impregnated with all this past unresolved learnings from their life up to this point. And those past unresolved learnings from their life up to this point are actually triggered by being with us. Why is it that being together in a relationship after a little while starts to trigger the past unresolved conditions in one another? You see, these past unresolved conditions are not truly our own nature, but are what has been imposed on us through our experiences and from what we've learned from other people and been told about ourselves, the thoughts we've learnt to think about ourselves that we got from other people, therefore they're not even our thoughts, and the way we've learnt to view and judge and criticize ourselves according to what we've been taught or according to how we've seen our parents do it. And so why are these stimulated? Why are these triggered in a relationship that's going perfectly fine? It's because they don't belong here. They don't belong there. They don't fit there. So what inevitably happens when you come into a relationship, the attraction is primarily the real people. You're attracted to me, I'm attracted to you, and there's two real people involved. And the phonies inside of us are people who aren't really meant to be there. You know, those personalities, those traits, those beliefs, that which is not our natural state, it's not really meant to be there. And so the natural part of us, which is naturally attracted to one another, gets on perfectly fine until this artificial indoctrination inside of us interferes with that. And this is what causes the problems. Because when that comes into it, it doesn't belong here. These are our fears that are not really made up of us, but made up of people before us. So, for example, how does your mother or father exist inside of you? How does anybody who's had a major impression on you exist inside of you? They exist inside of you in what you've learnt and copied from them during your time with them. They exist inside of you in the effects they've had on you by the way they've treated you and how it's made you feel up to this day. And then when your new partner behaves in certain ways or says things to you which may trigger these, you become the embodiment of your mother or father all of a sudden. And that mother or father, or that impression that they've had on you and therefore now exists in you as a distortion to you, comes out of you in reaction to your partner. And you overly personalize with what your partner said. They may say the most basic thing to you, the most innocent thing to you, and you become really, really upset, really triggered by this. So how do we get triggered? And what is being triggered? It's not our natural state being triggered. Okay? Our natural state does not personalize with anything, because in our natural state we feel perfectly fine with ourselves as we are, and that's the person that comes into the relationship in the first place, but bringing the baggage that isn't actually us, but is the accumulation of memories and experiences that have become part of us due to being involved with other people, particularly being involved with influential people who've had an influence on us and caused a distortion in us that is not us. So when your mother or father comes out of you at your partner doesn't want your mother or father there, they want you. Yeah. But this is where the relationship starts to go deeper. In fact, trying to have a real relationship between the real you and the real them is interfered with by the unreal you and the unreal them. And that interference, your relationship is going to push that out. It's not going to want that there. So you will feel conflict in that because it's not right. It doesn't fit. And how often do you see your partner acting in ways you think is very alien to the person you really believe they were, or the person you loved in the first place? And who is this other person that keeps coming in? You do that with yourself as well, yeah? How often does something come out of you, you go, who is this person inside of me that keeps coming out? This person inside of you that keeps coming out is a memory person, a person made up of people before you. And it's not actually you, but you haven't had a chance as a young person to establish a real solid sense of what it is to be you, because you're born as you and you need your life to discover you, and you get all these adults around you imposing them on you, imposing and poisoning you with them. Yeah. And I say it's poison not because they're poisonous. They're not poisonous to themselves, but they're poison when they are in you because they don't belong there. You should be left alone to discover what it is to really be you. And that's quite a process. Yeah, we're quite a complex thing and very, very unique thing. So the discovery of what it is to be me is something that only I can discover. These are the things inside of us that a good, healthy relationship will gradually process. So when you're having this happen in your relationship, you've got to understand you're feeling triggered by your partner, you're personalizing, overly personalizing with something, and you're in reaction to your partner. And what are you overlooking? You're overlooking your own reaction, and your own reaction to your partner and your partner triggering that reaction is a gift, actually, because that's bringing out from inside of you something that doesn't even belong there, and you may not have even known it was really there until they triggered it and it came to life in you and it took you over, and you had no control over that. You couldn't make any choices out of that. You couldn't determine your words and your actions out of that. You just became this other awful person. And that other awful person is really just the person that you need to process out of your system. How do we do this? Firstly, when there's a trigger, when your partner triggers a disturbance and an overreaction in you to your partner, you become quite irrational. You become very insecure. You become very angry. You blame them and so on. But you're blaming them for something they've unintentionally brought out in you that is really helpful to you, because it's showing you that that is in you in the first place. And when that comes out in you, you're the first one who doesn't like it. So the interesting thing is if what they trigger in you and you blame them for triggering, that trigger, that thing that's brought up in you, you don't like it yourself. That's why you're upset in that moment of that coming up. That is your upset. That is your disturbance primarily with yourself, which then becomes your disturbance with them. But that's the mistake. This is not really your disturbance with them. This is your disturbance with you, and they've helped you get in touch with that. And that's what a deeper, mature relationship is all about. It helps you get in touch with that inside of you, which doesn't belong. It shouldn't be in you, and it shouldn't be in your relationship. When I say it shouldn't, of course, it's in there because of what you've been through, so we can't really say it shouldn't, but it doesn't belong. It doesn't belong in you. It belongs, or it belonged in your mother or in your father or whoever other influence came into your life, but it doesn't belong in you. The only thing that belongs in you is you. And you are unique. You are the person you were born to be before anybody else gave you thoughts to think about yourself that caused you to become confused and distorted in yourself, and also before anybody else did harm to you. So the harm that's in you, the distortions, the beliefs about yourself, the thoughts you have about yourself, these are not your own. These are what have been imposed on you in the name of caring for you. Any authority in life is harmful. Not one single person needs an authority. No one can be an authority of me, and I should never be an authority over another person in any way, shape, or form. Authority over other people is just a way of pushing people around and harming people. Yeah, we don't need authorities. We need to be left alone to be our very selves, to discover ourselves. No one's an authority over you in truth, because no one is you, so no one understands or knows the unique creature that you are, that you were born into this world as, that you came out of your mother's womb and out of this natural world as the natural person you were, and there's nothing wrong with that person. It doesn't need improvement. It simply needs discovery. And you discover that as you grow, as you physically grow, you physically discover at a feeling level, at a sensory level, what it is that you are becoming as you're growing. And this is a very fulfilling and exciting process. You're constantly discovering what it is to be you. And as life throws challenges at you, you discover you have the responses to those challenges that are fine. But if life throws a challenge at you in your relationship and it triggers something in you that doesn't belong there, you find that that trigger is always inappropriate, always inadequate. It is never a healthy response to your life now. It doesn't help you in life. It causes all the problems and any of the problems that you have in your life or in your relationship. You are not causing those problems. The natural you will never cause a problem. The natural you works in a very different way. It simply responds and grows and develops and fits in with, not in losing itself, but is able to work with other people in a very interesting way, in a healthy way, in a way in which we dig deeper into ourselves to deal with what's being thrown at us from our partner or from our friend today. So taking any of these comments or behaviors from your partner towards yourself personally, you're personalizing with something that isn't about you, it's about them. If they're behaving in a strange way, that strange way is coming out of them in the attempt of them trying to relate to you but being unable to relate to you in an appropriate or effective way, simply because their mother, father, or whatever authority figure is coming out of them, like the ghost in the machine of the organism that they are. And the ghost doesn't belong there. The ghost is just an imprint, a memory cell. It doesn't belong there. It's not actually them. It's become part of them. And that is what's coming out. So when that comes out of your partner, you won't like it, because that's not the person you're in a relationship with. You don't want to be in a relationship with their dad or their mother. You want to be in a relationship with them, and their dad or their mother is getting in the way of that. So, but when that comes out, don't take that personally. That is not about you. That is not the right response. The right response is to see what's going on for them. If they're acting strangely and not the person you really find attractive, or the person that you were firstly in a relationship with, then that person is something else coming out of them. And that something else is what they are purging out of the triggering of you being with them. So if you trigger something in someone and it comes out, don't take it personally. It's not about you. It's about them. They just need to be allowed to be that nutcase for a while. You know, they need to be allowed to be in that state, which is not really natural to them. Let them be in that state for a while. And your acceptance, rather than personalization and making it all about you, when it's not about you, it's about them, and you're accepting them having something come up that's about them without getting involved in this projection, reaction, continuation that goes on in relationships, but simply staying in your own sense of yourself, saying, well, right now I need to be the solid foundation of this relationship because my partner's just lost his shit. He's just gone nuts. She's just going through some sort of exorcism of her mother. Yeah, and let that happen. Let that come out. But be there without judging. If you can be there without judging, this will enable that person to process that and get through it on their own. Yeah, get through it in themselves. And this enables them to settle down and process whatever they don't want to be, whatever they don't want to be in relationship to you, because they don't want to hurt you. They don't want to screw up their relationship. They don't want to screw up their life now. But because of these influences that are inside of us, we have no control and no choice over these things. When you're acting in these ways towards your partner, do you have any control? Is that really what you want to be doing? In fact, if you get really caught up in what's inside of you that's coming out of you, you really believe what that believes, which is, yes, I do want to behave this way, but do you? Is what's really happening not so much the way you want to behave, but the way something inside of you needs to behave in order to show itself and get the right attention, the attention it needs, which is to be allowed to be there as it is for a while, whilst your partner becomes a solid foundation for the relationship as you are going through this. Now, how do we do this for each other? And we do need to do this for each other, is we need to understand what's happening, which is what I've been explaining. What is happening is what's coming out of that person is something that doesn't belong in the person or in the relationship, but it's there. And in trying to have a relationship in the here and now as the person that they are here and now, these aspects of themselves keep getting in the way. They keep coming out. They're not really, they're getting in the way of you having a relationship now, but that is actually part of you having a relationship now, is that you're helping one another grow up, grow back into being one's self. And sometimes you need someone close in your life, someone who actually gives a shit about you, to really be there for you whilst you're going through that, so that you can process these past experiences of life and get back to being what remains once they're processed. So the reaction that a person in your life brings up for you is, in a sense, a gift. It's helping you get in touch with something inside of you that otherwise drives you, not just in a relationship, but throughout your entire life. We need to know how to deal with these things that are coming up inside of ourselves. But first we need to understand what the hell they are, because they do control us. We don't understand this. We find ourselves unable to make decisions, unable to make choices in our life that are not influenced by these distortions inside of us. And when we find ourselves enraged or in reaction to the world, we're not seeing the world from ourselves. We are reacting to the world from our past. And our past needs to be resolved. And so this is a gift. So when you feel yourself triggered and you're feeling that reaction, that's the first disturbance you're having. Not the person, what they said, but what it brought up for you. And that disturbance, you feel that in your body. You don't want to feel that, but that is felt in you because that is currently a part of what it is to be you, albeit an impression imposed upon you from the past people in your life. So just feel that when it's there. Feeling that is very, very important. And for your partner to see this come up in you, and for your partner to then see this and recognize, this is a reaction. This is not a sanity. This is something that isn't even fitting with the situation right now. It's not time to argue. It's not time to fight. It's time for at least one person in that relationship to return to their quiet sense of themselves in their own body, and just wait it out and be there for the person. and let that person go through this process. And if you can help them understand this is hurt inside of you, this is something of a great disturbance inside of you, and you can say this because you see it there and they know it there. So you can help them by bringing them back to what they're going through inside themselves, but not judging it, not saying it's wrong. It's not wrong. It needs to happen for the processing of whatever they haven't had a chance to process throughout their life to happen now in the environment of a caring relationship. And can you do that? Because if you can't, you've got a lot of maturing to do before you're going to be able to have a relationship where you're not blaming, where you're not misunderstanding, where you're not attacking, but where when this sort of thing happens, you're starting to understand this is a purge of the person's past. And when this happens, this is a healing process that goes on in every single relationship. But most of the time, we stuff it up. We interfere with it. We don't allow it to happen because we make it about us. When it's not about us, it's about them. It's what's coming out of them. And that moment is not time to make it about us. It's time to be there for them and vice versa. Okay, I hope that was helpful. I'm sure it will be, because relationships are tricky things, especially when you don't understand how to deal with your own reactions. So I would suggest that each and every one of you download our app, the Undo Meditation app, and study that app. I mean, really study it. It will teach you all about this. You need to understand this in order to have healthy and fulfilling relationships with other people. And that's pretty important. Okay, thanks for listening. See you next time. Thanks for joining me today. If this talk resonated with you or helped you in any way at all, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the talk with your friends so that they can get the benefit as well. Okay, bye for now.